Obese girl rejected on blind date, but then the CEO at the next table shocked everyone at 3 a.m. The clock struck 3, its eerie chime echoing through the dimly lit diner. A heavy fog of mystery hung in the air, thick enough to cut with a knife. Jessie sat alone at a corner booth, her heart pounding in her chest. She was waiting, almost trembling in anticipation. The smell of burnt coffee mixed with a hint of maple syrup wafted around her, a bittersweet reminder of her failed blind date that had turned into a cruel joke. Wiping away a stray tear, she glanced around nervously, her face flushed with humiliation. The other diners, a mix of curious onlookers and late-night regulars, exchanged glances, whispering in hushed tones, like detectives hunched over a crime scene. Then, the door swung open with a creaking protest, and in strolled a tall figure clad in black. Adam Hale, the CEO of Hale Industries, known for his ruthless business tactics and chilling charisma. The moment he stepped inside, all eyes shifted to him. It was like a magnet had drawn the room's attention, a pulse of energy surging through the air. He surveyed the scene before settling into a booth not 5 feet away from Jessie, unaware of the storm brewing in her soul. At first, she couldn't believe it. Her heart raced. Was this really happening? Moments later, you could hear a pin drop as she caught his gaze, those piercing blue eyes locked onto hers. The air crackled with an unspoken challenge, an unexplainable magnetism that sent shivers down her spine. Everything around them faded into a blur. Jessie's fingertips trembled as she clutched her coffee cup, praying it wouldn't shatter under the mounting pressure. The whispers grew louder, everyone noticed the connection forming. Could it be a twist of fate, or merely a cruel trick of her imagination? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the clock ticked ominously, a sudden loud crash shattered the fragile atmosphere. A waiter had knocked over a tray of glasses, the sound reverberating like a gunshot. Eyes widened. Jessie's heart sank, drawn back from the moment. In that split second, something shifted. Adam stood up, his interest piqued as he scanned the scene. A collective gasp surged through the diner, shocked faces morphing into eager anticipation. But the real shock came when Adam approached her table, confidence radiating like sunlight. "You all right?" he asked, his voice low, dripping with concern. Jessie's pulse quickened, the world around them fading away. Was this really happening? Just when she thought humiliation had swallowed her whole, a literal CEO was standing before her, concern etched in his features, an inexplicable warmth brewing between them. Could this night actually turn into something extraordinary? Jessie's breath hitched as Adam's presence filled her little corner of the world. The diner's chatter faded, leaving just the rhythmic pounding of her heart echoing in her ears. She was caught between sheer disbelief and an unexpected thrill. Here was a man who could have anyone, yet he was speaking to her, a girl who had just faced rejection. "Yeah, just a little embarrassed," she managed, her voice almost a whisper. She felt the warmth wash over her cheeks. The whispers around them faded into background noise, but they held their breath, curious to see where this moment might lead. Adam smiled, a slow, genuine smile that sent butterflies fluttering in her stomach. "Don't let it get to you. Everyone else had a bad night," he said, glancing briefly at the curious diners. "You deserve better." There was something warm yet commanding in his tone that made her feel strangely safe, almost as if he was shielding her from their collective judgment. The mystery deepened as Jessie took in his tailored suit, the way he carried himself with an air of authority. "What do you do?" she asked, suddenly bold, her fingers relaxing on the cup. His eyes twinkled, that hint of a predatory gleam still present. "I create business opportunities, memorable experiences, if you will," he replied, a teasing glint in his eyes. She couldn't help but wonder what sort of opportunities he could offer someone like her. Memorable experiences, huh? Like getting rejected on a blind date. Jessie shot back, trying to cloak her nerves with humor. He chuckled deeply, the sound warm like a sunbeam breaking through thick clouds. Touché. But I think you deserve a second chance, he said, leaning closer. She could smell a hint of a woodsy cologne, intoxicating and warm. Would you let me buy you a cup of coffee? The challenge was clear, and the air was thick with unspoken possibilities. Was he flirting? Surely he didn't mean it seriously. In that moment, Jessie almost forgot the eyes of the people watching them. The world had narrowed down to the two of them. Hope sparked quietly within her, but it warred with her self-doubt. She'd been humiliated, could she risk it again? Suddenly, the door swung open once more, revealing two figures, one tall and brimming with confidence like Adam, and another smaller but equally imposing. The diner's atmosphere shifted dramatically, the collective eyes turned once again. The air thickened with tension as Jessie recognized one of the newcomers, her ex, Mark, accompanied by a tall woman, a picture of glitzy glamour. He's here. Jessie's heart plummeted. Mark's piercing gaze found hers just as Adam instinctively positioned himself between Jessie and the intruders, his demeanor unreadable. Everyone in the diner could sense the unresolved tension, two different worlds colliding in a single, suffocating moment. What a lovely surprise, Mark said, smirking as he approached their booth. Jessie's heart raced, and the buzzing energy in the air made her feel dizzy. Did he sense the faint connection sparking between her and Adam? Interesting choice of company. Mark's voice dripped with disdain, but Adam's icy blue eyes bore into him without flinching. Jessie's mouth dried as she waited for Adam's response. Would he defend her? Would he shatter the fragile hope that had ignited just moments before? The diners leaned in, waiting for the next electrifying word to break the suffocating silence. This was more than just a night full of surprises, it was about to get a lot more complicated. What would happen when tensions erupted? Adam didn't blink. His gaze remained fixed on Mark, and Jessie could sense the temperature in the room dip even lower. Time slowed, elongating the seconds into a thick, suffocating silence. It felt as if the very air were holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable clash. Adam began, his voice cool, almost smooth like silk. I didn't realize you were in town. The words sat heavily between them, a silent challenge. Jessie's heart raced. Could Adam handle this? She felt a strange mix of admiration and fear for the stranger standing beside her. Mark laughed, but it was cold and hollow, like the sound of breaking glass. You really shouldn't interfere in things that don't concern you, new guy. He gestured dismissively, eyes darting over Adam with contempt. Jessie and I have a bit of history. The tension crackled like a live wire, and Jessie's stomach churned. Memories of Mark flashed in her mind, soft kisses turned sour, laughter that twisted into bitter arguments. She swallowed hard, wishing she could disappear. Yeah, but the past is the past, isn't it? Adam shot back, his voice unwavering. What matters is the present. And right now, Jessie seems to be having a better time without you. A flicker of defiance ignited in him, and Jessie felt a rush of gratitude. Something about his boldness made the walls she had built around her vulnerable heart shift just slightly. Mark's jaw tightened, his expression morphing from arrogance to something darker, more dangerous. Is that a challenge? You think you can sweep in and be the hero? He exclaimed, his voice rising. Jessie winced, half expecting him to lash out. The patrons' whispers turned into a chorus of anxious murmurs. Forks clinked against plates, and the smell of frying burgers mixed with the sweat of tension-filled bodies. All eyes were locked on the three of them, a live-action drama unraveling before them. Maybe I don't need to be a hero, Mark, Adam replied unshaken. Maybe I'm just here to help her grab a decent cup of coffee. His lips curled into a smirk, seemingly unaffected by Mark's fury. Jessie's heart raced as she met Adam's gaze. He was still standing firmly beside her, but Mark's eyes were now turning into icy daggers, piercing straight through her flesh, igniting her fears. You think he likes you, Jess? Mark's voice dripped with malice. You'll just be a notch on his belt, another little trophy. A lump rose in Jessie's throat, mingling guilt and anger, as she realized how deeper their battle had become, not just a war for her attention but an all-out confrontation of her past and present. The shadows of insecurity pushed at her from every angle, begging her to retreat into herself. Don't you dare speak to her like that, Adam bit back, the intensity in his voice igniting a spark of hope within Jessie. She's more than you ever realized. But the moment was shattered as Mark took a step forward, looming over Adam. Please, spare me the heroics. This is between Jessie and me. Stay out of it, or you'll regret it. The diners collectively gasped. A palpable electricity crackled in the air. Mark's words hung like a storm cloud, and Jessie could feel the weight of the room shifting again. Would this escalate further? A fight? Would she have to choose sides? Jessie, Adam turned slightly toward her, his expression softening for just a moment. Are you okay? She was torn, jerked between her ex's looming threats and the unexpected protector at her side. Her voice, when it finally emerged, was barely a whisper. I don't know. The implications heavy in the air, she glanced between them, sensing an unending spiral of chaos spun around her, and just as her heart settled about which step to take next, the door burst open once again. A figure stormed in, this one wearing a leather jacket, and a face masked by shadows, and silence fell once more. What new chaos awaited in this already explosive confrontation? How would this newcomer change the stakes? The stranger moved with an air of defiance, every step radiating a sense of authority. The room, still charged with tension, seemed to shift as the door slammed shut behind him. Eyes turned, widening in curiosity and unease as whispers began to ripple through the crowd. Mark's posture changed instantly. He dropped back, narrowing his eyes at the leather-clad newcomer, sizing him up like a predator assessing potential prey. Jessie could feel the impending confrontation electrify the atmosphere. Who the hell are you? Mark spat out, veiled aggression coating his words. The newcomer's face was still obscured by the shadow of his hood, but a smirk pulled at the corners of his lips, hinting at a devil-may-care attitude that unnerved Jessie. I'm just a guy looking for some excitement, he replied, his voice smooth yet edged with an underlying threat. But it seems I stepped into the middle of a soap opera. Adam straightened, clearly annoyed at the distraction, but Jessie could feel his curiosity battling the protective instinct simmering beneath the surface. You don't want to start anything here, Adam warned, his gaze flicking back to Mark, then the hooded figure. Oh, but I do, the newcomer said with a hint of amusement. He stepped farther into the light, and Jessie finally caught a glimpse of his features' sharp jawline, deep-set eyes that sparkled with mischief, and a confidence that was almost overwhelming. Everything okay, Jessie? He asked, and his tone shifted slightly, taking on a genuine note. Jessie nodded instinctively, though her heart pounded in her chest, torn between the storm brewing in front of her and the curiosity the new guy stirred within her. Stay out of this, Mark growled, refusing to let go of his territorial instinct. He couldn't relinquish control, not with the angry tension lingering in the air. The figure chuckled, a rich sound that was both mocking and inviting. Why don't you both calm down before this gets out of hand? He stepped closer, and Jessie could pick up on a sense of excitement radiating off him, as if he thrived on adrenaline. Let me remind you, this is my business, Mark said menacingly, his voice low. The other diners leaned in, captivated by the brewing conflict, every eye glued to the four of them like it was some kind of twisted theater. Then, why don't you show me what you're made of? The newcomer challenged, his expression daring Mark to escalate things further. Jessie felt a chill shoot down her spine. This man was stirring the pot, risking everything. I think this place needs a little more entertainment, the stranger boldly announced, shrugging his shoulders as if he could brush off the danger that lay ahead. The confidence in his voice was striking and unsettling at the same time. Mark's nostrils flared, and an ugly snarl crept onto his face. Jessie felt her heart race faster. She wanted to reach out, stop him, but her limbs felt frozen. Did they all really need to escalate this madness? and then the room fell eerily silent as the stranger's expression morphed from bravado to scrutiny. "You know, Jessie," he began, his gaze finally locking onto her with surprising intensity, "maybe you don't deserve to just be a trophy for either of them." Her heart skipped a beat. What was he implying? Jessie was more than she had shown, stuck between two worlds, her past with Mark and a newfound hope with Adam. The chaos around them made her pulse quicken. It was as if everyone in the diner was holding their breath, their eyes flitting back and forth in anticipation. With one decisive move, the leather-clad figure reached out, pushing the boundaries even further. "Why don't you step back, Mark? This isn't your show anymore. Maybe it's time Jessie chooses for herself." Jessie's breath caught in her throat. Could she really take back control? Everything was spiraling wildly, and yet a glimmer of hope burned brighter than ever. Just then, the lights of the diner flickered ominously, plunging them into momentary darkness. The murmur of shock spread quickly among the patrons, but only a single thought rippled through Jessie's mind. What would happen when the lights came back on? Jessie's heart hammered in the silence that followed, a steady drumbeat of fear mixed with wild anticipation. As uncertainty enveloped the room like a heavy cloak, she held her breath. The flickering lights danced in frantic bursts, casting ghostly shadows against the walls. When the lights finally returned, Jessie blinked against the sudden brightness. Her heart sank. The leather-clad stranger stood feet away from Mark, who had surged forward, fists clenched and eyes ablaze. Adam looked ready to intervene, but the dawning realization that they were all caught in this precarious web of chaos held him back. "Guess we're doing this, then," Mark growled, barely keeping his breath steady. The tension hung thick in the air, and Jessie could only grasp at fleeting thoughts. This was her moment to make a choice, yet each second felt like a lifetime. The stranger appeared entirely unfazed, still leaning casually against the nearby table as if they were simply engaging in a spirited debate. "What's it gonna be, Mark? You think your bravado intimidates me?" His voice remained calm, an unsettling contrast to the fury radiating from Mark. Mark lunged, but the stranger effortlessly sidestepped, spinning on his heel with an elegance that surprised the onlookers. Gasps emitted from the crowd. Jessie felt a surge of adrenaline spike within her. This wasn't merely a clash of egos. It felt like a battle for her very freedom. "We don't have to do this," Adam finally broke in, stepping forward, his stance protective. "This isn't worth it." "Oh, but it is," the stranger answered with a grin that sent shivers down Jessie's spine. "The stakes just got higher." In that moment, the diner erupted into chaos. Diners stood, chairs scraped back, and murmurs turned to shouts. Someone screamed, but Jessie's focus narrowed down to the unpredictable trio in front of her. "Back off!" Mark bellowed, losing his composure. Jessie felt a knot tightening in her stomach. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was becoming a spectacle, a violent showdown that could spiral dangerously out of control. "Simon, Mark. Face it. You're all bark," the stranger taunted, taking just the right step back to bait the others, his eyes glinting with mischief. "Shut up!" Mark shouted, lunging again, but this time, Adam stood his ground. "Mark, think about what you're doing." The two men clashed, fists flying. Jessie's gut twisted at every blow, each connection a strike not just to flesh, but to the world she was trying to break free from. In the midst of the chaos, a hard realization washed over Jessie like a bucket of ice water. She had to act, to make a choice before this spiraled hopelessly out of control. "Stop!" She finally managed to scream, her voice piercing through the confusion, a desperate plea for calm. She stepped forward, her voice cracking but resolute. "This isn't worth it. It's not about you two." The fight faltered, both men hesitated, surprised by her outburst. The crowd drew back, captivated by her intensity, waiting to see what she would do next. Mark's tone had shifted, a flicker of uncertainty flashing in his eyes. "Maybe I deserve better than being a trophy or a battlefield." She could hardly believe she was saying it, but the words slipped out, raw and visceral, as her heart raced into uncharted territory. "Maybe it's time I chose who I want to be." Their faces hardened, but the atmosphere thickened with anticipation, and her resolve pressed in against them, like a weight they had never confronted before. As silence fell once more, the eyes of the diner fell to her, drawing her in deeper. She could feel it a shift, an opening. What would they say now? Would they respect the decision she yearned to voice? But then, a loud crash echoed from the kitchen, drawing everyone's attention instantly. The door swung open, and the terrifying visage of another stranger emerged, eyes lightening with fury. What new chaos had just arrived? The new stranger moved through the chaos like a predator through tall grass. Jessie's heart raced once again, a familiar thud of urgency pounding in her ears. There was something unsettling about the look in this newcomer's eyes, an intensity that promised danger. "Get out of my way!" he barked, pushing through the crowd with determined strides. He was tall, muscular, and dressed in dark clothing that clung to him like a second skin. The sharp lines of his jaw tightened as he fixed his gaze on the leather-clad man. "Looks like you've got company," the leather-clad stranger said, a wide grin plastered across his face as if this were all just part of some twisted game. "I didn't come here for you," the newcomer spat, disregarding the tension between Mark and the leather-clad man. "I'm looking for someone." A heavy silence washed over the diner. Heads turned, whispers carried through the air like a weak current. Jessie could feel the prickle of eyes on her, a collective uncertainty mixed with unease. Was he looking for her? Had her moment of choice drawn in further danger? "Who are you?" Mark barked back, stepping closer to shield Jessie, fists still clenched tightly. "Does it matter?" The stranger smirked, his hand resting casually by his side, as if the weight of the world didn't rest on the edge of a knife. "What matters is what I want. And you're in my way. Step aside, or I'll make you." The words dropped like a stone in still water. The leather-clad stranger straightened, all amusement evaporating beneath the weight of the challenge. Tension crackled like static electricity, filling the air with anticipation. Everyone held their breath. Even the cook in the rear had paused his bubbling pots. "Why don't you make me?" the leather-clad stranger replied, eyes narrowing. In an instant, the distance collapsed between them. Mark's voice rang out, but Jessie's gaze stayed glued to the newcomer. There was something in his posture, a readiness that felt different from the chaos unfurling before her. Something serious, something deliberate. "Wait!" Jessie shouted, desperation coloring her voice as she stepped forward. She didn't want more fighting, didn't want another scene. "Please, just stop. I won't let him hurt you." "Not again," Mark snapped, but Jessie could feel the desperate tone lurking beneath the bravado. "This isn't about you. This is about me." Jessie shot back, realization crashing down on her like a flood. The roots of her desperation sprouted into awareness this wasn't just their fight, it was hers. With a deep breath, she turned toward the new man. "What do you want from me?" The new stranger moved to close the space, a flicker of hope lighting in his eyes. "I need you to trust me. We don't have time for this." "Trust you? Why should I?" Her heart was pounding against her ribs, resisting the urge to step back. "Because there are bigger dangers here. And they found you." Shivers danced up her spine. "Bigger dangers?" She glanced at Mark, the anger flashing in his eyes, then back to the leather-clad man. The diner buzzed with anxious energy, and every second felt monumental. Jessie realized she was standing at a crossroads. One path led back to the familiar chaos of Mark's anger. The other, uncertain and twisted, beckoned with the promise of something more. Just as she was about to respond, the lights flickered again. A power surge? Or something worse? And then it happened, an explosion of glass from the diner's front windows, shattering the last semblance of calm. Shards rained like deadly confetti around them, and screams erupted in every direction. The moment of choice had turned to survival. What had just breached their sanctuary? Jessie clung to the newcomer as worry gnawed at her. In this new, fractured chaos, who could she truly trust? The world around Jessie exploded into chaos. Glass exploded, sending sharp shards spiraling through the air. People screamed and scrambled for cover, their faces pale with fear. The diner's laughter turned to terror, and Jessie felt her heart lurch violently as the chaos erupted around her. She had stepped too close to the abyss. Mark instinctively shoved her behind him, his eyes darting as he formed a protective barrier between her and the unknown threat. The diner's fluorescent lights flickered ominously, casting long, jagged shadows that danced across the walls. The newcomer, his eyes ablaze with an urgency Jessie couldn't ignore, took a step forward. "Stay close," he growled, his voice cutting through the cacophony as he scanned the room, searching for signs of the danger that had breached their haven. "What just happened?" Jessie shouted, her voice trembling as she clung to the fabric of his shirt. The noise of panic enveloped them, but she needed answers. "I don't know," he said, frustration lacing his tone. "But they're here, and they won't stop." The leather-clad man now stood resolute, fists clenched, his former amusement replaced by grim determination. He glanced toward the shattered windows, his jaw tight. "They'll come through there next." Jessie shivered, feeling the weight of the tension spiral around her. "Who are they? You said there were bigger dangers. What does that even mean?" Before the newcomer could respond, a shattering noise from the far side of the diner pierced through the chaos. A figure emerged from the shadows of the shattered windows, cloaked in black, face obscured. Jessie's breath caught in her throat. The sudden appearance sent a wave of icy dread coursing through her veins. Without hesitation, Mark lunged forward, ready to confront the threat. "Get away from her!" he yelled, muscles coiling like a spring, ready to unleash his pent-up rage. "No!" Jessie reached out, desperate to hold him back, but it was too late. The figure turned towards them, revealing glinting eyes alive with a predatory glimmer. "Foolish," the figure hissed, a voice low and threatening, sending chills down Jessie's spine. "You think you can protect her when you don't know what you're guarding against?" A crash echoed off the walls, drowning out the screams. The sound drew Jessie's eyes back to the dark figure. Something about it felt familiar, like shadows from her past that had haunted her dreams. "Jessie, listen!" The newcomer's grip on her tightened. "We have to go now." Panic clawed at her, leaving her feeling hollow. "Where? What is happening?" "Just trust me." There was no room for hesitation. Jessie felt the fire in her chest rise and overcome the fear, a flicker of determination igniting her instincts. "You want me to trust you? Prove it. What is your name?" His eyes bore into hers, a storm of emotion swirling within them. "Evan, my name is Evan. And I need you to understand that they are coming for you. Not just here, everywhere." The air turned electric as the leather-clad man moved toward them, teeth gritted in a wild display of bravado. "You think they want just her? They'll take everyone if given the chance. Then we fight," Mark declared, defiance ringing in his voice. But as if answering his challenge, the dark figure lunged forward. Jessie felt her heart race, adrenaline flooding her veins, waiting to witness the collision of fear and fury. Everything hung in the balance. Could she trust Evan, a man who appeared from seemingly nowhere amidst the chaos? Or was Mark right to keep her under his guard? With a whirlwind of terror and danger crashing upon her, one thing became clear: there was nowhere left to hide. And a choice loomed larger than all the chaos, one that could seal her fate forever. What would she choose in the face of darkness closing in around her? Evan lunged forward, intercepting the dark figure just before Mark could reach him. The air crackled as they collided, bodies tumbling to the ground. Jessie stood frozen, her heart pounding in her ears. Time slowed, the chaos of the diner fading into a distant roar. "Evan!" she shouted, panic fueling her voice. But he didn't respond. The two wrestled fiercely, fists connecting with a sickening thud. Jessie could see Evan's jaw clenched tight, muscles straining as he fought to gain the upper hand. "Mark, we need to," she began, but Mark grabbed her arm. "We can't just stand here." He pulled her towards the back exit, urgency painted across his face. "I won't leave him." The words ripped out of her throat before she could stop them. Jessie's instincts screamed at her to stay, to not abandon Evan, who was fighting for her like some character from a movie she could scarcely believe was happening. Mark hesitated, eyes darting towards the fray. You don't understand this isn't just a fight. They want you. The thought dropped like a stone in her stomach. What do you mean they want me? Evan had grappled himself onto the dark figure, managing to pin it against the shattered remnants of the diner wall. The glare from Evan's eyes bore down like a storm brewing in the distance. Jesse! Run! He yelled, urgency crashing through his voice. Another figure appeared from the shadows, a mirror image of the first. The sight sent a shudder down Jesse's spine. They were everywhere. More cloaked figures spilled into the diner, their movements eerily synchronized as they closed in on the trio. Mark pulled Jesse closer, urgency in his voice. We have to go. Now. No! She yelled, shaking off his grip. I can't just leave. Why the hell not? He snapped back, exasperation flashing in his eyes as he scanned the approaching figures. Because I can't let them take her. Evan roared, his voice steady yet filled with desperation as he strained against the figure beneath him. In an instant, the first figure elbowed Evan hard in the ribs, sending him sprawling back. He gasped for air, struggling to rise back up. The second figure lunged towards him, fists raised. Jesse! Get out of here! Evan's voice was strained but fierce. The pain in his breath echoed in Jesse's mind, and in that moment she felt a swell of something stronger than fear, determination. No! She screamed, torn between duty and the rising tide of her heart. I'll fight with you. I want to just run away. Mark's expression cracked with disbelief. You think you can stop them? You're not trained for this. But as he finished speaking, Jessie felt something shift within her. A sudden rush of strength surged through her limbs. Maybe I don't have to be, she whispered fiercely, breath catching in her throat. A loud noise erupted behind them as the remaining glass from the window shattered even further, raining down like glistening shards against the floor. Suddenly, every pair of eyes turned toward the sound, frozen in the moment. Jessie seized the chance. Evan! What do we do? She called out, looking desperately into his eyes. His gaze was fierce, filled with both admiration and urgency. There's a way out behind the counter. I'll hold them back. You have to trust me. Heart racing, Jessie nodded, realizing Mark was still gripping her arm, holding her hostage in her own fear. Let go of me, Mark! She shouted, newfound resolve surging through her. Before he could respond, she dashed toward the counter, dodging flying debris and fragments of panic, adrenaline driving her forward. The chaos behind her roared louder, and she could hear Mark shout her name, the edge of fear laced with protective instincts. Evan's grunts of effort mingled with the shadows darting behind her. She could feel the menacing presence of the cloaked figures swirling in the air, seemingly waiting for just the right moment to strike. But Jessie had made her choice. She would not back down. As she dove behind the counter, a figure loomed up in the dim light behind her, its eyes glinting with malice. You can't escape, Jessie. Breath caught, she raised her head, terror threatening to swallow her whole. What was she going to do now, with the darkness lurking so close? And far behind, she hoped Evan would be okay. But as she prepared for the next move, a chilling realization sunk in. There was something familiar about that voice. Something unsettling. What connection did the cloaked figure have to her past? And could it derail everything she thought she knew? The air thickened with uncertainty, and Jessie knew the real battle was only just beginning. The cloaked figure stepped closer, its hood concealing most of its face, but Jessie could feel its presence as if it were a shadow clinging to her. The voice, sinister and familiar, ignited something deep within her. A memory flared up like a spark in the dark. Who are you? She stuttered, her heart racing, desperate for a thread of connection amidst the chaos. It's been too long, Jessie. The tone dripped with mock nostalgia, chilling her blood. You've forgotten, haven't you? Frozen in place, Jessie racked her brain, trying to piece together snippets from her past that felt too distant and yet too close. She could only grasp at shadows while the words echoed ominously. The sound of a crash from behind the counter broke through her concentration. She glanced back just in time to see Evan throw a punch, his determination unwavering, but the odds were closing in. Evan! She screamed, the fear coursing through her veins. But every second that ticked by felt like an eternity, the cloaked figure advancing even closer, its intention plain as the oppressive air grew heavier around her. You can't hide forever. They need you and you need to embrace your destiny. Jessie's chest tightened. What are you talking about? It's time to awaken what lies beneath. The figure gestured with a gloved hand, and Jessie felt a sudden pull in her mind, as if an unseen tether was latching onto her thoughts. Images flashed, fragments of a life she had buried deep inside her, dark hallways, whispered secrets, and an ominous promise made long ago. Stop it! She shouted, clenching her fists, fighting against the surge of emotions threatening to overwhelm her. With a flicker of resolve, she turned to the chaos at the counter. Evan was struggling, grappling one figure while another circled like a predator, preparing to land a devastating blow. She couldn't just stay back, she had to do something. Evan, I'm coming! She shouted, her heart racing against the pounding sound of her fear. As she moved, she could feel that familiar voice clinging to her, but she pushed it down, reasserting control. With a surge of adrenaline, she grabbed a broken chair leg, wielding it like a weapon. It felt strange but empowering in her hands, reminding her that she had the power to fight back, to stand her ground. Jessie, no! Mark shouted, his eyes wide with shock mixed with fear. Ignoring him, she stepped out from behind the counter and rushed towards Evan, every ounce of her being ignited with purpose. Her breath quickened as she dodged a swing from one of the figures, adrenaline fueling her movements. Take this! She yelled, swinging the chair leg with all her might. The blow connected, sending the figure staggering back with a grunt. Evan's eyes widened in surprise, and for a fleeting moment, they shared a glance that reassured her. You did it! He gasped, fighting back as he regained his footing. But that moment didn't last long. The second figure, now enraged, lunged at Jessie. In a flash, she slipped aside, the sound of ripping fabric signaling danger. Just then, chaos erupted. The diner was a whirl of screams and violence. Shadows swarmed, voices yelling. Jessie could feel the weight of it all around her, fear, pain, and power converging in a maddening storm. Then an unthinkable thought struck her. What if this wasn't just about Evan? What if she was walking right into a trap larger than she could imagine? The familiar voice in the shadows grew louder, taunting her with echoes of a past she couldn't quite grasp but felt compelled to confront. Where's the real Jessie? It hissed, twisting the knife of uncertainty deeper. Suddenly, Jessie found herself standing between Evan and the figures, her heart pounding in her chest like thunder. I'm not what you think I am, she shouted, both a declaration and a question, and as the words left her lips, a loud crash erupted from the back of the diner, halting every movement. All eyes shifted toward the noise, and Jessie felt that ominous shiver creep down her spine once more. What now awaited in the depths of the shadows? What horrifying truth would be unmasked in this dreaded moment of confrontation? Her next move would decide everything. As the dust settled around them, Jessie took a deep breath, readying herself for what lay ahead. The diner's chaos echoed in Jessie's chest as she stared down the cloaked figure, her heart racing wildly. Just when she thought she had summoned the courage to defy her past, the world around her was crumbling into dust. Her pulse thrummed in her ears while the cacophony of cries and shouts swirled around her, but now, something in her shifted. It was time. I'm not afraid of you, Jessie shouted. Her voice rang out, strong and defiant, surprising even herself. The cloaked figure faltered, uncertainty flickering behind its dark hood. Had she really just taken a stand? Suddenly, Evan broke free from his scuffle with his assailant, pushing back against pressure that had almost overwhelmed him. He turned to Jessie, determination on his face. You're right. Stand your ground, Jessie. The encouragement ignited a spark within her. Before she could process what she was doing, she stepped closer, brandishing the broken chair leg like a badge of honor. What do you want from me? She demanded, feeling a strange power ripple in the space between them. The cloaked figure leaned forward, its voice dropping to a chilling whisper. Oh, but my dear, It's not about what I want. It's about what you're meant to become. They are coming after you for a reason. You are part of something that reaches far beyond this diner. A shudder passed through her, but Jessie called on all her strength, pushing back against the enveloping darkness of doubt. I don't believe you. I'm not a pawn in your game. The figure's laughter was a hollow echo. You can deny it all you want, but the truth is unyielding. It gestured to the chaos around her. These shadows chase you for power, Jessie. They need you to embrace your destiny. Before she could respond, Evan pivoted, his determination fiery. You don't get to drag her back into your world. She makes her own path. He lunged toward the cloaked figure, and the air tensed like a taut string. And then it happened. Jessie felt it first, a surge of warmth igniting deep inside her, pushing aside the shadows that threatened to engulf her. For the first time, she began to feel a crackling energy surge through her veins. With newfound confidence, she shouted, I will not be your weapon. The figure pressed forward, furious. You think you can resist your fate? But Jessie stood her ground, tapping into the rush of power that coursed through her. I am my own fate. The declaration sliced through the tension, reverberating against the walls of the diner. A flash of bright light erupted from her hands, illuminating the dark corners of the room. Gasps echoed from the other diners, and even Mark, for once, seemed taken aback. The cloaked figure recoiled, shock painted across its hidden face. What are you? And before Jessie fully understood the depth of her own revelation, she closed the distance, determination blazing in her eyes. I'm someone who chooses what they want from life, not what you dictate. With that, she unleashed the power flowing through her. A radiant wave shot from her hands, cascading over the figure and illuminating the dim space. The darkness that had swarmed them wavered, shadows flickering and distorting as cracks formed. The figure screamed, caught in the brilliance of the light. Jessie could feel the energy within her amplifying, like the beating of a drum against the rising sense of hope. This ends now. She shouted again, and the figure staggered back, evaporating into wisps of shadow that dissolved against the diner walls. Jessie's breath came rapid and wild as she reached for Evan, pulling him closer. I did it! She cried, her voice ringing with triumph. Evan grinned, awe evident in his eyes. You did! You're incredible! Mark stepped forward, cautious yet intrigued. What just happened? With the remnants of darkness quivering behind her, Jessie turned to him, wondering what her next step would be. Maybe this was an opportunity to redefine their connection. I no longer have to be defined by my past, she said firmly. I'm ready to explore who I truly am. The tension that had held the diner captive began to crumble, but Jessie could feel the remnants lingering, a haunting reminder that change was not always easy. Yet she took a step forward, toward a future that was hers to mold. Let us leave this chaos behind, she suggested, the weariness of past pain lifting, replaced by unyielding resolve. Evan nodded, respect radiating from him as he stepped back with her. Mark hesitated, and for a moment Jessie felt the heaviness of their shared history. But she knew there would always be remnants of the past, no matter the choice she made, and she felt ready to forge her own path. Wherever it led. As they stepped outside into the cool night air, the chaos of the diner receding behind them, Jessie inhaled deeply, tasting freedom. She wasn't stepping into the unknown as a victim. She was paving her way as a fighter. With a final glance back at the diner, memories mingling with possibility, she turned to Evan. What now? She asked, her heart racing at the thought of what lay ahead. Now we take the fight to them, he said, determination glimmering in his eyes. And that's exactly what they would do. Jessie felt unstoppable. This was her moment. The power she felt within her wasn't something to fear, it was something to embrace. Together they would face whatever threats lay ahead, stronger for having taken that stand. With a flicker of hope in her heart, and the thrill of destiny at her fingertips, Jessie stepped forward. The real adventure was just beginning. Now, it's your turn. You need to subscribe now to this channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will blow your mind. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm, and keep this community thriving. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Jesse's journey. What are your thoughts? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means everything. Let us keep this amazing story going.